Namaste and a very warm welcome. Yet another episode of Social Impact Leaders, Simply with Suparna. I have a very interesting person. I have a very interesting concept to share with you. A startup founder that is working to making India or the world a more sustainable place to live in. But before I formally introduce my next guest, I would like to start by paying my obeisance to the higher power, that is Shakti. Ya kundendu tushar haradhavala, ya shubhra vastravrita, ya veena varadanda manditakara, ya shweta padamasana, ya brahmachitta shankar prabhutivi, devai sada vandita, samam patu saraswati, bhagavati nishesh jadyapaha. This is an old Sanskrit verse. It's an obeisance to Goddess Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom and knowledge. It's a prayer to dispel the darkness that resides in our hearts with the light of knowledge and wisdom. And through these interactions as well, we are trying to focus on the right thing while we all talk about sustainable living, sustainable development. But what is the truth behind sustainable development? What are the avenues through which each one of us can contribute and create a better environment, a better world around us. In continuation with that, we have our Sabera awardee, the founder and CEO of Ecohoy, Ayush, here with me today. Ecohoy, of course, is an environmental focused organization driven by the core mission to catalyze environmentally friendly practices and enable individuals and communities as well as businesses to maximize their efforts towards creating a sustainable ecosystem. Thank you so much, Ayush, for taking the time for being here with us. And congratulations once more for winning the Sabera Trophy. And I'd love to know what your experience was with Sabera.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here. And again, it was exhilarating because we knew this is something which was on the basis of the actual work that we have done, having been evaluated by an independent jury. So that always gives satisfaction when you win an award, which is headed by an independent jury. And we know the work that you put in, the questions you ask on your forms. So we feel really happy about it.
So Ecohoy has been into the business of, creating sustainable products for a long time now. And I want to map your journey. How is it that Ayush as an individual got attracted to something, something like this, which is really a social enterprise? It's not merely a profit-making business enterprise, but also it takes into consideration the environments that we inhabit and the world that we want to leave behind.
Yeah. So frankly speaking, I did my MBA graduate like most of the people my age were doing at that time. And I worked in the corporate sector for 4 to 5 years. And at a really young age, I was at a leadership position for a multinational company in India based out of Mumbai. So during the course of our work, day-to-day work, people were talking about sustainability as such and the environment. But when you go deeper and say, what should we do? It's mostly about let's plant a tree, don't use plastic bags. And I was like, is that really enough? Maybe not. Then if you go out and do your own research, you will come across like most of the products being claimed to be sustainable are just marketing gimmicks as such. They may not be as sustainable as you think they are. So that's where the idea started.
Yeah. We'll get to that, but first I want to understand, what does Ecohoy do?
Okay, fair enough. So starting from here, we decided why not create a platform where we can curate products, identify their environmental impact, and give a clear representation to a customer saying that what's the impact of the product on the environment. So we basically divided the product into the raw material being used, how it's being manufactured, what is the impact upon use, and how is the product being disposed. So every product that you see on the website basically has this analysis of what's the impact of the product. So, and it's a very clear representation. If a certain aspect of the product is not ideal, we'll present it as not ideal, basically, right? So the other three aspects may be fine, but the fourth one may be lacking in something. We make a fair representation so people can make informed decisions, right? So that's the e-commerce part of it. Then we work with businesses also trying to understand how can we make their workspaces more sustainable, right? So recently we did an audit for a financial institution which had like 400 branches across India. So we just said, let us see what we can do. So upon our analysis, we came to the conclusion like if they just change the day-to-day consumables they use, they'll be able to save 3,600 tons of virgin wood, around 48 million liters of water which goes into manufacturing of the current products that they're using, and 300 tons reduction in paper products. And the beauty of the thing is from second year onwards, they would be saving 1.5 CR every year if they implemented the changes from the current cost.
Hmm.
So then we do conduct trainings for employees and policy makers of an organization so that they are well aware, because our work is only sustainability and carbon footprints. And that's what only we focus in. And so at times we do conduct workshops regarding the same as well.
So a lot of questions are buzzing in my mind right now. You spoke about, of course, the audits in organization. You spoke about offering alternatives which are environmentally friendly. Now, and I think Ecohoy also claims that it has almost 10,000 products which are, which can replace the regular products.
Yeah.
So I want to understand one thing: how do you identify
Yeah.
that this product is environmentally better as compared to a regular product? One question is that. And the second thing is, are you sourcing these or are you manufacturing these? How does this work?
Okay. So, firstly, what we try to do is we try to ensure that the products are being manufactured in India. So, what happens is the carbon footprint cost of transporting the product from one place to another drastically reduces as compared to importing it from China or another country. So, as a result, our products are 99% made in India on the website,
Super.
right? So the second thing is, as I mentioned, we basically analyze the raw material being used. How is the product being manufactured? Is it completely automated? Are they using renewable energy? Is it handcrafted? What is the process of manufacturing the product? Then, what is the impact upon using the product, right? And fourthly, how the product is being disposed. Is it biodegradable? Is it recyclable? Or will it end up in a landfill, for example, right? So, to give you an example, if you talk about a plastic spoon as compared to a bamboo spoon, so the end case scenario, a bamboo spoon will biodegrade in the soil, but the plastic spoon may end up in the landfill, right? So we basically do an analysis comparing the entire life cycle. And when it comes to carbon footprint, we are able to do basic analysis for the carbon footprint differentiating factor due to the fact that in India, we are not able to get the carbon footprint data for the conventional manufactured products, right? So if I ask you what is the carbon footprint of a book you buy, of a vehicle that you may buy, or a mobile that you may buy, it's not easily available. So that comparison is done on the basis of law of averages. So that can be bang on, or there may be certain variations.
Discrepancy. Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you counter that? How is it that you find an exact, like for example, you mentioned that you had gone across to a financial organization and told them about, the kind of products that they're using, and if you just simply replace these with certain products that you recommend, they can save so many liters of water and reduce the carbon footprint, etc. So how do you actually then arrive at an apples to apples comparison in terms of this would be better than the other? One, of
Okay.
course, is a no brainer. A made in
Hmm.
India, it serves the purpose of it being Swadesi, as well as the fact that it's not traveled around the world to
Hmm.
to the final consumer. I mean, I'm looking at it from a different perspective, and it's making a lot of sense to me, because a lot of times it's in front of us and we don't recognize this, whether
Hmm.
it be in terms of food or in terms any kind of product. So it's so important that if it's being made within my state, if not
Hmm.
within my country, and is
Yeah.
accessible to me immediately, it's so
Hmm.
much more better.
Absolutely. So, like importing strawberries from New York may be tastier, but it's going to have a huge carbon footprint or a carbon impact just to get it to Mumbai or Delhi. So, enjoy your strawberries, but don't say they are organic. That's what
Yeah.
I'm going to
Enjoy
say.
strawberries from Mahabaleshwar instead.
Yeah, why not?
No, what I wanted to understand from you is that how do you do an apples to apples comparison in terms of, say, for example, my laptop or
Uh-huh.
somebody else's laptop?
So let's go back to the example that we're talking about, right? The financial institution. First, they were using plastic disposable cups. They said, let's go sustainable. Why not? So they migrated into using paper cups, right? So those paper cups at the end of the day are manufactured using wood, virgin wood. So how many wood or trees are required to manufacture a set number of cups can be easily calculated as such, right? And then there are averages from which you can calculate the carbon footprint of the cups being used in the offices. As I said, so if you go to the manufacturer of a cup manufacturer in India and say, what's your carbon footprint? He may not have the data, but you can use the law of averages and arrive at a figure.
Hmm.
Now, the second thing is you're disposing of the paper. It may be biodegradable, but it's creating waste, right?
Correct. Hmm.
So our solution was use cups made out of rice husk. You remember pre-Diwali, North India is basically covered with that smog and smoke due to husk.
Parali. What we talk
Yeah.
about Parali, wherein since the winds are moving from Punjab to Delhi, so there's a lot of stubble burning which happens, and a lot of smoke comes towards Delhi. Yes.
So that stubble can be basically used to manufacture cups which are reusable, dishwasher safe, and also microwavable.
Wow. Okay.
So that solves multiple problems if you get the infrastructure in place. So we
Hmm.
suggested using those cups. We can have those cups customized in the name of the employee, right? And the behavior change required is that they would have to be washing their cups on themselves and carrying it
Yeah.
along with them, right?
Correct.
So, but this alone will result in savings of 80 lakhs per annum only by not using paper cups from second year onwards.
Yeah.
Because you can imagine 450 branches, financial institutions, so their customers coming in, the employees. So the cup expense alone is around 80 lakhs.
But tell me, does it work for them financially?
Yeah. So first year there is an outlay, and if you estimate the life of those rice husk cup being 3 years, right? So every year they're going to be from the second year onwards, they're going to be having a saving of 80 lakhs.
Okay. Okay.
So by
And
the end,
also for the manufacturers, because I know for a fact in Sabera 2023 we also recognized PepsiCo, because they came up with a project using this stubble waste, and even though it was a pilot project, but they tried to create biomass out of it. Now PepsiCo as an industry, it's a multinational and can invest that much to create some kind of a facility which was also natural,
yeah.
to make biomass out of stubble. But normally, the stuff that I have seen earlier, maybe even Birla Soft at one point in time was recognized for this. Now, the problem with that was the machinery employed, to literally dig out that entire husk that was there, that in itself is so capital intensive that you can't, unless of course a multinational is backing it up and putting in that kind of money for the machinery, it is not sustainable otherwise.
Yeah, so with my corporate background, when we started Ecohoy, we had this option of registering it as an NGO or whatnot. But I was under the strong opinion this is not an NGO, this is not a volunteering agency. This is we have to make this a profit making organization. The only way to make sustainability like mainline is to guarantee that companies generate profit and reinvest those profits. As long as we are in the mindset that sustainability can be done as a CSR activity or as a NGO organization, that mindset may not lead to economies of scale, but you start running it as a business where you invest for a profit, then that allows you to reinvest the amount and take this mainstream.
Mm.
I may be wrong, but this is what I strongly believe. So
So,
the
what has
profit,
your learning been? How is it that you make your business profitable in what you're doing?
see, the thing is, we are still learning, right? We have still have a long way to go. But one of the learnings that I have is that the entire sustainability space, at least in India, has to work jointly but not as competitors. So this entire industry has to gel together and we have to generate economies of scale, right? So the rice husk cup example that I gave, it's not about one person sourcing say 5,000 cups and the business is up and running. It's about 10 people sourcing say 50,000 cups and then we start seeing a systematic change basically.
Hmm. That makes sense. But
Uh,
I think what is happening in the process, Ayush, I may
hmm,
be wrong, but
hmm,
correct me if you feel
yeah.
so, that
Hmm,
in the name of sustainability and also wanting to make a profit incentive out of it, there is, the market is being flooded by products which are claiming very loudly to be sustainable, but at the same time, they're completely, against the ethos. I mean, I can state an example in terms of, say, for example, menstrual cup, and we've been trying to
yeah.
promote sustainable menstruation across India.
Hmm,
Now, while there is, a lot of effort in trying to effect a change behaviorally, but once that behavioral change has happened and the options available in the market that claim to be sustainable are not really sustainable, I think it's a lost cause. Say, for example, even if we come down to the cups example, the paper cups itself, I'm told, have a plastic lining inside it. Besides the fact that they're from virgin wood, they
hmm,
also have plastic inside it. Similarly, even with sanitary pads. I mean,
hmm,
sanitary pad, the word itself cannot be something which is purely sustainable because you have to put a plastic lining, and unless that is a reusable kind of a thing, or you'll have very small, plastic molecule in it, that when you actually put it into bio biodegradation, that
hmm.
little molecule actually enters the food chain, and it's even worse than actually a bigger sheet of plastic.
No, absolutely, I agree. So, like, yeah, what was the question basically? I'm sorry about that. I got lost in your, yeah.
Yeah, what I'm trying to ask from you is that in the name of sustainability, like when you said that we want to create an ecosystem where everybody is working together and not against each other, and also the fact that the business needs to be profitable, sometimes in the name of sustainability, are we creating businesses and an eyewash, so to speak?
Absolutely. So there was this global survey done like a couple of years back, and it clearly stated like 66% of consumers worldwide are willing to pay more for a sustainable and a cleaner product. So 66% couple of years back. So that's your profit incentive basically. So if you can claim something to be not only buy sustainable products but pay more for it as well. So 66%, right? So that's where your motive comes in. So if you're able to brand something sustainable, you have a audience size of 66% consumers, right? And it's not only about being sustainable, the same goes with well-being products as well. So well-being and health products, they face the same issues that we are talking for sustainability. So my idea is like, as is as it happens, if we look back into history, over a period of time, there may be 100 players, but say 60% will lose credibility in the years to come, and then only the serious people will stand by. So it's going to take time, but it will happen, right?
No, I can totally understand because that's how we are in the game also with Sabera being in the seventh edition. And there's a lot of other noise making organizations that create awards for the sake of creating awards in terms of whether it's a buzzword is CSR today and sustainability tomorrow and ESG the next day. But
Yeah.
here, with Sabera, our ethos is that as long as you're doing good and it is in alignment with sustainability, then definitely we would like to acknowledge you. But yeah, I mean, simple things which are in front of our eyes, and it was an eye opener for me as well when you say even if the product is sustainable and it
Yeah.
is not sourced from somewhere close by, the carbon
Hmm.
footprint itself is a big this thing. Now there is also we were speaking about electric vehicles before we started.
Hmm.
What is your view on that?
So my view is electric vehicles are fine, but if you don't have a supporting infrastructure to go with it, it really won't make much of a difference. I tell you why. 85% of the energy being generated in India are through coal, oil, and gas plants, basically, right? So you buy an EV, what will happen is you won't go to the petrol pump, but you will charge your car at your home. Your home, like 80% probability, is being powered by a coal plant, which has an emission factor of zero point 0.8 and above. So it's just that you're passing the blame from the oil and gas company to the electricity grid, right? So that's one thing. The second thing would be there are a lot of rare metals being used in manufacturing of the battery, right? So these are basically cobalt and nickel. And these are dangerous mining operations in countries which are not economically affluent, you would like. So there are problems of child labor, unsafe conditions of work. This is where we source rare earth minerals for our phones, for the batteries and all. Fine, we take control of that, but we still do not have a mechanism of recycling the waste batteries, which is basically a toxic waste. So how do we really take care of that? So the other option being is, which is more being done by the Japanese companies, are like Toyota and Honda. They are focusing on hydrogen gas as being used as fuel. So that makes more sense. But the issue now is, how do we transport hydrogen gas from the source to the pumps, basically for the consumers to consume in a really safe way? And can hydrogen be produced in a such large quantities which is also sustainable and has a lower carbon footprint? So everything looks nice until unless we go really deep into it, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, at the face of it,
yeah,
is
no
everything
expert,
looks like
I'm learning a
everybody
lot.
wants everybody wants to do the right thing, but you know what? There is so much learning that needs to happen. But I guess Ayush, it is important that at least there is research which is happening. At
Yeah.
least we're trying to adapt. There are new things which are coming out in the market, and of course we're going to fail at some, and we're going to succeed at some, and that's how the change ultimately would happen. So it can't be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is, what I'm pointing out, one of your viewers may say, yeah, this guy is right, but he's 2 years old. Now there's new technology to do this and that. The idea is we are moving forward, but the idea is to make informed decisions, right? So, what I mean by informed decisions is, for example, I like to fly. A person says, I like to fly. It has a huge carbon impact. I know. And I like to fly business class. I won't fly in economy, for example, right? So he's making an informed decision about the impact he's having or she is having. But the thing is, if you know about that decision, you will try to make changes in other parts of your life which may compensate that decision of yours, right? It's about money. If you have, say, 1,000 rupees for a day, you may like good food, but you will compensate elsewhere to balance it out. So I'm not saying go for a sustainable lifestyle or be this or be that. I'm not that preacher. But what I say is make informed choices so you know about your impact, right?
So, if you were to tell us some kind of both in terms of challenges in the business that you have faced, and second, the triumphs that you have faced, that keeps you going on.
Okay. So I won't. Is it okay if I don't talk about the business but talk about the general ecosystem?
Absolutely, yes.
So what happens is over a period of time, I have realized that sustainability, environment, and also other related things are a function of the economic well-being of a society, right? So what I mean by that is there are people, tribal people who are living in the forest. They love their forest, but they're given an option of if you don't cut this part of the forest and sell the timber, there's a chance that you and your family may not make it for the next couple of years, right? As against, I have an alternative career which is not dependent on the forest wood. Then you automatically become sustainable and environmentally aware about the need of protecting the forest. If you're getting the wave I'm getting into. So a lot of times the economic well-being of a society is directly correlated to the awareness about environment and sustainability. The awareness may be there, but that behavioral change will happen with certain economic cushion, what I'm trying to say, right? So when people say, like people who travel a lot, they say we went to Japan, we went to France, हम लंदन गए थे या यूएस गए थे, वहाँ पर एनवायरनमेंट के लिए इतनी चीज़ें कर रहे हैं, लोग आर एक्सेप्टिंग, पर इंडिया में ऐसा नहीं होता या थाईलैंड में भी इतना नहीं है. It's a direct factor of the economic well-being of a particular place that you operate in. So we operating in India face this challenge. So we are able to achieve good results in pockets, and in certain places it becomes a challenge to they understand the concept, but changing it into a behavioral change. Let's put it this way. Was I able to explain myself? I think I went round in circle.
No, if say for example, what is the very basic thing or a basic minimal change that maybe an organization can bring about or a householder can bring about in significantly contributing towards the environment, according to you?
Okay, so my thing is ki when we make buying decisions every day, right? We make decisions every day, and in 90% of those decisions, we think about money,
Correct.
right? So, what I'm saying is, for the decisions you make, 90% you think about money. Why not for those 65% you also think about the environmental impact?
Okay.
So, the thing is, I have this option of traveling by train, I have this option of traveling by car to a city which is 200 kilometers away, right? So if I go by car, my impact would be at least 6 times as compared to traveling by train. So just treat your environmental impact the way that you treat money. It may not always be the best decision that you take in terms of environment, but it's going to be an informed decision where you are able to balance it out with other activities, right?
Right.
So
And the
even
simplest thing from my conversation with you, a simplest thing for me is to buy local.
absolutely. So I would suggest buy a regular shampoo in India rather than importing a organic shampoo from Canada because the carbon footprint is going to be great. Just getting the product from Canada to India.
Yeah, even though the claims of the product may be absolutely correct,
100% sure. Right,
but
absolutely.
But I guess look, working with a shampoo which isn't sustainable will work out much better, which is locally produced.
The idea is buy that shampoo because you like it, don't buy it because it's sustainable and it says organic.
Yeah, so local definitely, and also
Hmm.
in terms of public transport, you're saying much better to take trains. And in organizations within, I think it is just inculcate reusable stuff, whether it's steel or glass or things like that.
And like I was talking to an organization into insurance, right? So in insurance, like they have these huge accounts for certain policies where the premium itself would be in say $5 million of premium or $4 million of premium. So the reinsurance support basically comes from say the London market or the Singapore market as such, and people from India travel to those markets to basically work out the policy and work out the premiums and the deals. And every good organization would have quite a few accounts like these. So within the organization, you can have a policy like there are 7 teams working on such accounts. Let's see who travels the least and who has the minimum carbon footprint and who does the best. So it develops a culture like, fine, I have to close the deal, but I have to reduce my impact as well, right? So it's like these small things which make a difference. So
Yeah,
that's why
I think there's been a lot of learning even through COVID, especially with all the work from home like models. Sabera always was a work from home model, but it's become more acceptable now.
absolutely.
Digital meetings have become more acceptable now.
Yeah.
But I'm
Hmm.
afraid you're going to tell me that using a computer itself is also not a very environmentally safe option. So,
Okay, let me be a bit crude. We being alive is not environment friendly or sustainable, right? If we go to the extreme. So the idea is not to eliminate your footprint, it's to manage it, frankly speaking, right? So
correct,
I'm not one of those hardcore guys, don't do this, do that. I just say do whatever you enjoy, but be mindful of your impact. So if you want, you can balance it out basically.
correct,
Right?
correct. Thank
Who
you,
are
Ayush.
yeah,
Is there
we
a
bring
parting
up
note, some some parting advice, piece of advice that you'd like to share with us?
uh, no, nothing. Like, frankly, I'm out of words. Just that be aware, be happy, and yeah, choices make changes. So make wise choices, and they will result in changes.
I
Right?
wish you all the best with Ecohoy. Oh, by the way, how did you come to the name Ecohoy?
Okay. So long story. I still have a list of like 60 discarded names as such. So we thought that the name should have a zing and a recall value to it, and it should mean something as well, right? So eco is self-explanatory. Hoy is basically, you remember the pirates, hoy, ahoy, and hoy in Spanish means today. So it's about diverting people's attention to the environment starting today. That's the idea.
Super. I think on that note, we'll call it a day and wish you all the best. Hope to see some of your work through Sabera 24 and
Absolutely.
hope you're going to be participating. And I'm going to be seeing you soon in person as well.
Same here. And it
All the
was
best.
It's a pleasure and thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.